Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in to my super chat. Quantum football! Can we get a Baruch HaKek for General Flynn? Quantum football, quantum football, quantum football. Thank you. Thank you. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin. That's definitely huge quantum football for General Flynn. And thank you so very, very much. And for the rule of law. Actually, the rule of law is predicated upon reversing and erasing the Mueller probe from history. The Mueller probe was the biggest travesty of justice we've ever had. One of the biggest political tragedies and travesties of justice we've ever had. President Obama states recently, through a leaked conversation, which of course was a public relations stunt, that the rule of law is at risk. Well, the rule of law stated that you should never have President Obama's administration, his Department of Justice, his FBI, should never have investigated based on the absurd notion that because a dossier said that Michael Flynn and Carter Page and Paul Manafort and George Papadopoulos and everyone in Trump's administration worked with Russian intelligence, we're using that as raw intelligence. So they used a dossier literally purchased by Hillary Clinton. They indicted Russian intelligence officials utilizing the opinions of a tech firm literally outsourced and paid for by the Democratic Party. The Democrats literally, not figuratively, this is not hyperbole, they literally paid for their own investigation and then used media to foment the belief that it was all legitimate. They literally paid for their own investigation. President Obama's administration literally helped foster investigations that were paid for. They were paid for in that the basis of these investigations were all linked back to money from the DNC and the Clinton campaign. The DNC and the Clinton campaign had to pay CrowdStrike and had to pay Christopher Steele. If they did not have CrowdStrike and Christopher Steele, and they didn't have absurd assessments from President Obama's James Clapper, ODNI chief, and John Brennan and Comey, then you wouldn't have all of this. They were moderately to highly confident. I've been saying this forever. They had no evidence. Now we find out that, and Tucker Carlson did a great segment. The CrowdStrike CEO said, quote, as it relates to the DNC, we have indicators that data was exfiltrated. We did not have concrete evidence. They indicted Russian intelligence officials on the assessment, not even the viewpoint of CrowdStrike. As it relates to the DNC, we have indicators data was exfiltrated. We did not have concrete evidence. Well, then how are they going to indict Russian intelligence officials? And then Loretta Lynch, Attorney General, I do not recall that being briefed up to me regarding Russian interference. Susan Rice, I do not recall intelligence that I would consider evidence. Samantha Power, I am not in possession of anything. I am not in possession and didn't read or absorb information that came out from the intelligence community. All of these people were bluffing. James Clapper, quote, I never saw any direct empirical evidence that the Trump campaign or someone in it was plotting or conspiring with the Russians to meddle with the election. So we have all of this evidence and information now that the whole thing was a scam, just like the DNC primary. Everything that I've been saying on this channel for 4 years since this whole thing began. How many channels do you know that were parroting the information? How many people believed that Trump actually worked with Russia, or that he could have worked with Russia? David, hello. Hello, everyone. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, hello. How many people, how many millions of people now are voting because they think that Trump worked with Russia? But you have to understand, the way the Democratic Party works is the following. They don't stand for anything. They don't stand for tackling the trade deficit with China. They don't stand for bringing home Americans the way Trump is doing. They don't stand for the beginning of peace between North and South Korea. I happen to believe that South Korea is our strongest ally in the world, especially from a geopolitical sense, from a geopolitical perspective. They are the strongest democracy in Asia. South Korea is the strongest democracy in Asia, one of the strongest economies. And you look at the history of, you look at U.S. history and the history of the world since, for the past, 70 years. D-Lynn, my 2 cents. Thank you, D-Lynn. Thank you. And peace between, the beginning of peace between, a roadmap of peace between North and South Korea is extremely important, because in about 20 years, China will be the number one economy and perhaps also the number one military. In about 20 to 30 years. And that's not even up for debate. So in 20 or 30 years, if you don't address the trade imbalance now, then then they'll have zero incentive. And also, if you don't have a strong ally and democracy, the strongest democracy in Asia, in South Korea, if you don't help, perhaps in the future, develop a peace between North and South Korea so that there's reunification, and where there's a much stronger nation. And that's not going to be easy initially, but President Trump helped begin all of this. They will be eventually, I think they are now. I think South Korea and eventually a reunified Korea would be the strongest ally the United States has in the whole world. I think they are now also. Orange Grove 55. Russiagate was the biggest insult to the rule of law. The biggest insult to the rule of law. Cowboy Derp, hello. Hello. ZZ Trump, hello. Yes. Gonna be a party tonight. Orange Grove 55. The biggest insult to the rule of law and the biggest insult to the biggest insult to the rule of law and the biggest insult to our intelligence. The biggest insult to the rule of law and the biggest insult to our intelligence. How anyone could possibly believe, I mean, you'd have to be a real imbecile to believe that Russia hacked the DNC because they were afraid of Clinton. Clinton is not Russia does not fear Democrats. Why would they fear Democrats? The Democratic Party says, well, the Russians hacked the Clinton campaign, the DNC, the DCCC, the Clinton Foundation. So tell me again why on earth would the Russians be afraid? Why on earth would the Russians be afraid? So this is interesting. The Democracy Index. The Democracy Index is compiled by the Economist Intelligence Unit, a UK-based company. It intends to measure state democracies in 167 countries. And then, whether the elections are free or fair, the security of voters, the influence of foreign powers on government, the capability of civil servants to implement policies. And South Korea is number 23. Japan is 24. We're number 25. So, UK is 14. Interesting. So they are by far, they are the only country in the top 25. No. They're the first country in Asia in the top 25. The first country. So I think that South Korea is our strongest ally for many, many reasons. Israel's 28. Greece is 39. But, so President Trump being the first president to step foot in North Korea, that is an achievement that President Obama never achieved. There is no greater achievement in President Obama, definitely not Bush's tenure. So President Trump has achieved more in terms of a monumental achievement of beginning détente between North and South Korea, which was seen as impossible. Now you have South Korea's President Moon Jae-in. Not only did he say that Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, but he envisions a future North and South Korean Olympic team, and eventually, in the few, perhaps decades from now or sooner, you would have a unified Korea. A reunified Korea, which would make the country even far more important and powerful in terms of economy and military. But again, that's a bigger accomplishment than anything President Obama, certainly anything Bush did. And President Obama's failed military intervention in Libya to obliterate that country, that was the worst. That was the biggest failure of President Obama's administration, and there's nothing that Trump has done that can come close to that failure. But if you look at media and Democrats and liberals, they don't care. They just care. He said something about a country. Well, we have no clue if President Trump said that. That was gossip and hearsay from a Democratic staffer. Reportedly a Democratic staffer. But people say, like, they'll believe gossip and hearsay about Trump, and they won't even remember actual failed military interventions from President Obama. So that's where we're at now. That's where we're at. The achievements in President Trump's first year, the achievements far outweigh the achievements of 8 years of President Obama, or 16 years of President Obama and Bush. Jordan Cruz! If states are opening back up and we can go to stores and everything, why are they pushing so hard for mail-in voting in 6 months? Exactly. And Jordan, thank you. We know the reason. Exactly. They want to count the votes. They want to be able to count the votes. Just like they do in Broward County in Florida. In Broward County, Florida, you have so many voting issues. So hold on. Let's see. Broward County. Ballot boxes just hanging around. And then they're like, see, this is the media. The media is like, there's a ballot box just outside where it should be. Just hanging out, like, where was it? Like in some alley someplace. I forgot where exactly it was. Then you get, no, those ballot boxes found in Broward don't contain votes. They are not supposed to even be outside where the votes are counted. So So you have, unofficial Broward ballot has my antenna humming, new election chief says. My antenna is humming. Their antennas are humming. They're like little, like hornets. Boxes found in Broward used for office supplies. not ballots. So, provisional ballot left a county elementary school that served as a polling station. And why is it they're always engaged in a recount? It's always a recount. Jordan Cruz, thank you. So, I mean, the notion, they set up and framed Michael Flynn. They set up and framed Trump. They set up and framed Carter Page. They set up and framed. And then the rebuttal is, well, he pled guilty twice. So what? If the FBI threatens to, indict your son, what is he supposed to do? They dropped the case against Michael Flynn because John Durham and William Barr, who are trying to find out if Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Kleinsmith, all of these people set up, Michael Flynn and others. John Durham and William Barr found out that there was no investigative basis to even ask questions of Michael Flynn. There was no reason at all because he had nothing to do with Trump-Russia. And furthermore, there was no Trump-Russia. They completely made it up. James Clapper said he had no evidence, but he just thinks that's the case. Oh, that's good. Well, there's no evidence, but we just think that there's a pay-to-play scheme at the Clinton Foundation. Of course, the evidence being the 25 pay-to-play schemes that exist. There's no evidence aside from every single person on the planet that gives money to the Clinton Foundation gets beneficial treatment. Other than that, I mean, Uranium One. See, they are so implicated in giving Russia everything they want that they had to flip the script. They were so mortified that they lost the election. But see, you have to understand also, most Americans don't understand what Clapper admitted to. So their plan worked like a charm. Don't think that their plan didn't work like a charm. Okay? Don't think that they weren't successful. Just because you found out, you watch H.A. Goodman, H.A. Goodman's other channel. By the way, subscribe to Bizarro World Goodman. I will have another segment up tomorrow. It's just I'm taking my sweet time with the background. You'll love it. I have Chris Cuomo. I have Al Gore, Joe Biden posters. It's fantastic. You'll love it. I have. So yeah, and also if you have Facebook, I don't have Facebook or Twitter, but share my Times of Israel article. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee. All of this, ladies and gentlemen. All of this is to ensure that Madam Secretary is nominee. All of this is to ensure that Madam Secretary is nominee. All of this. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. You know, they didn't do it. Biden is the biggest train wreck of all time. You couldn't even like create a candidate that's worse than Biden. Thank you. Zinni. No, I didn't. I didn't see that. Zinni, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen. Mary, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, share my Times of Israel article everywhere if you're on Facebook. It's right there. If you are on Facebook, please share it everywhere. That article is going to be prescient, as will Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. That's in 2017. Share both articles. That's below in the description section of every one of my segments. You have to understand also, and this is a really, really important point, the average American does not know what you know pertaining to how Trump was set up. They don't know the admission from James Clapper just the other in the transcripts. They have no clue what high to moderately confident means. First of all, the intelligence community that Democrats worship is always wrong. They were, even before these agencies started, Pearl Harbor was an intelligence failure. Then you had the Bay of Pigs. Then you had the Gulf of Tonkin. Then you had the fall of the Berlin Wall. They didn't even predict that. Then you had Bush's failed military interventions predicated upon failed intelligence. Then you have Facebook ads. President Obama's NATO intervention was predicated upon failed intelligence also. So, I mean, is there a business on this planet that can get consistently every decade something monumental, a grandiose failure in life? I mean, can you consistently, if you do that, you end up in prison. If you consistently fail in your life in a miserable way or commit atrocities, you end up in prison. If you're in the intelligence community, then you end up, and then you end up getting promoted, or at least you end up on CNN and MSNBC. And they're like, "Oh my God, these people, they risk their lives." Okay, some of them do. The ones we pay to help us out, yeah. Guess where all the information was for certain people? Oh, that's right, on Clinton's servers. There was an Associated Press article on that. How the identities of these people were compromised because they were on servers outside of the United States government. Isn't that interesting? Florida Man Bear! The algorithm will let me say what I want, so you all know the deal, man. You know the deal. You know the deal. Luke St. Martin. Thank you. Quick draw, Eric H526 and Luke St. Martin. Florida Man Bear. You know the deal. This is a Florida Man Bear. This is when This is Biden and his wife planning for dinner. Honey, what do you feel like? You know the deal. Come on now. You know the deal. Pizza, come on now. Italian food, come on now. You know the deal. Ladies and gentlemen, share. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee in 2020. Florida Man Bear. I'm going to type in Joe Biden right now. Florida Man Bear. Thank you again, as always. Florida Man Bear, as always. Joe Biden. What kind of negative articles now? Oh, yeah, that's right. Then you have a 1996 court document that proves Tara Reade's there is more evidence. If you want to say circumstantial evidence, there's a mountain of circumstantial evidence that shows that Biden is guilty, but they don't care. They cared about a yearbook photo, or a yearbook entry. They obsessed over that, which has nothing to do, which didn't even relate to what he was accused of doing. Which what he was accused of doing also, Kavanaugh, is nothing compared to what Biden was almost certainly did. Why Joe Biden's VP will be the person he trusts and admires the most. Watch, it's Hillary Clinton. Oh my God. Clinton becomes VP, and I already covered my bases on that. I did a segment on that. Hillary Clinton becomes VP, and then suddenly it's, countdown time. Okay, I'm just gonna, retire now and pass it to Clinton. Big L! Justice needs to be served for this. Previous president was complicit and may deserve prosecution, but that would be too divisive in this climate. I agree with you 100%. Nothing will ever happen to President Obama. Nothing. Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Strzok. Well, the lower level people always get it. So the Big L, the lower level people like Peter Strzok, he wasn't really lower level. He was a second in counterintelligence. But Comey has the goods on all of them. They're all going to rat on each other. They're all going to turn on each other. You're talking about people, ladies and gentlemen, essentially you're talking about law enforcement officials who became criminals. We know that John Connolly in Boston, that John Durham put him in prison. Okay? We already know John Durham already put a top official, FBI official in prison. So, Brian Levy, I've been making awesome art. God bless you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you, Brian Levy. And awesome. That's awesome. Making awesome art. Brian Levy, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. A Big L, indictments will first take place after the election. Because I don't believe, I can't see anything happening. I can't see anything happening before the election. Because then all you would hear is, oh my God, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. Oh my God, they're trying to interfere. They're trying to interfere. They're trying to interfere. Brian Levy, thank you again. I've been making awesome art. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Excellent. But Big L, see, what Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Brennan, what they did was create a criminal organization. And in criminal organizations, eventually, people say, hey, you're going to do to me what I've done to others? You're going to do to me what I've done to others? You're going to do to me what I've done to others? Okay, that's it. I'm gonna speak to the feds, which is funny because they were the feds. That's kind of funny. Comey was the Fed. Jay Sumner, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Jay. They were the feds. Now they're going to go up against the feds. The feds are now going to go up against the feds, and that is that they were ruthless. But now you have President Trump, who, like James Brown, the big payback. It's a big payback. Now he's gonna have the big payback. So, eventually you're going to have people say, hey, I didn't. So let's say they indict Kevin Kleinsmith. He'll say, I didn't do this on my own. It was Peter Strzok. Then they indict Peter Strzok. He says, I didn't do this on my own. It was Comey. Then they go after Comey. He's like, I got the goods on Andrew McCabe. And then Andrew McCabe is like, I got the goods on Clinton. And then finally he gets to Clinton. Or Brennan and Comey. And they all turn, Brennan and Clapper, they all turn on each other. Everyone knows what they did. This is the top people in the United States government under President Obama. The top most powerful people in the entire country and in the world. And they're no longer in government, which was the source of their power. If you're no longer in government, and that was the power that you wielded, Now, what do you expect when the government then says, okay, now we're going to find out how you utilize the government against Trump? And Democrats don't care, even though if you look at the history of the FBI, from infiltrating civil rights organizations to doing a whole lot of really sometimes criminal things. Just read Gary Webb, the journalist. David Lockhart Lee. David, thank you for working tirelessly to spread the true, strong analysis and for teaching us how to write perfect headlines. David, thank you. David, thank you very, very much. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. And thank you for the kind words. Thank you. Thank you, David. So we're going to have, this is like James Brown's The Big Payback. Let's look at the lyrics of The Big Payback. Great song. James Brown, one of the greats. If someone said the greatest of all time, I'd be fine with that too. But James Brown, The Big Payback. This is Trump's song. Revenge. I'm mad. Gotta get back. Yes. You get down with my girlfriend. That ain't right. And then he just, it's the best song ever. It's the best song. They need to add like Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Brennan all in the lyrics. I gotta deal with you. Hit him back. The big payback. Sold me out for a chump of change. Sold me out for a chump of change. I want revenge. So this is a Trump song. This is Trump's song with Clapper and Brennan. Let me tell you something. They keep underestimating Trump. They think that like it's just like they think. David, thank you again, David. Thank you very much, David. Again, thank you. Big L, thank you. Big L. They think that they think that that Trump is just an anomaly. They cannot admit that he is going to be there for 8 years, or that he won, or that he's a great president who's accomplished a lot. They can't admit that. They get this constant look, and there's this psychosis taking place. They're blaming Trump for everything, for the crisis, when it's the governors in 3 states that have over half of all the lives lost. And all these governors are Democratic governors. But it's interesting, and you had Cuomo in March 1st saying the risk for New York remains low. But they keep underestimating Trump because all they have now is contempt for him. That's it. And the people who didn't vote for Trump, they were fed a bunch of nonsense for 3 years about Russia. Then that was complete garbage. Then they were fed that Trump's trying to interfere in the election, so they impeached him on that under the absurd premise that he was trying to investigate Biden because he was afraid of Biden. Biden is a train wreck. He's the biggest, most horrific candidate of all time. So he's an absolute train wreck. So then they're like, oh, well, then they're like, oh, well, now it's his fault. It's like, well, no, you were impeaching him under the belief that he was trying to go after Biden, which is hilarious, which is absolutely hilarious. Then you had Eric Swalwell on March 3rd saying, stop wearing masks. That's what Eric Swalwell said. So they're all over the place all the time. The only thing they have is contempt. That's the only thing that they have is contempt for Trump. That's it. That's what they're running on. They're going to lose also because they They overplayed their hand pertaining to this crisis. I'll explain after Trump wins. But I was actually quite worried that Clinton would win. Not. That's why I kept saying, she has a 20, 30% chance. I think that she only has a 15% chance now, maybe 20. They've overplayed their hand regarding this crisis. And voters are going to remember exactly. They'll remember a lot of things. I'll get into it after the election. And I'll explain after the election why Trump won again, which is going to link back to my 2017 Huffington Post article, which is below. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. And my Times of Israel article that was just published, and share that everywhere. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee. You have to ask yourself, at what point do people realize that the media sensationalizes stories and obsesses over Trump? Are they ever going to realize or admit that media is obsessed with taking down Trump? That's also like the credibility of media outlets has tanked because their focus is not the news. Their focus is just taking down Trump. That's why they'll twist. And then you have people regurgitating. The same nonsense. Well, Trump said this. Like, no, he didn't. Look at the quote. Look at the context. Look at the nuance. Look at the intent. Look at the motivation to actually say what he said in its entirety. They don't look. People already realize, even people on the left realize, that this man is fighting an entire system. They don't care. They just like that system. You also have to understand that the average, look, you have two very influential people in media. You have the age range of people in their 50s and then in their 30s. The people in their late 20s, the people in their late 20s and early 30s grew up with President Obama as the best president of their lifetime. People in their 50s going on 60, I'm talking generally liberals, center-left people, or, just far-left people, grew up with the Clintons in the 90s. So when they were in their 30s or late 20s, Bill and Hillary Clinton brought the Democratic Party back because you had 12 years of Reagan and Herbert Walker Bush. So you have people who are editors now or running major publications who believe that the Clintons were the saviors of, the Democratic Party. And they could never do any wrong, and everything, they always have to cover up any overt crime from either one of the Clintons. And then you have the people writing now and the obsession that journalists have just taking down Trump. The majority of these journalists are in their late 20s to mid 30s. These are millennials. These are petulant, malicious, rabid, hysterical, basically activists that will take a story, twist it, manipulate it. Trump said this. Really? Who said? Well, it was reported that in a meeting from somebody that heard. Well, how is that a story? It's a story because somebody heard it, and it fits what Trump would do. Okay. Do you know that he said it? Do you know 100% that he said it? Well, no, we don't. But it's Trump. He's a very racist person. Well, why would you put in the headline that he said this when you don't have any proof he said this? There's no recording. And you have no clue of what they were talking about, the record, or anything. And then why would you obsess over that when President Obama himself obliterated a country in Libya with a failed NATO intervention? Well, you know what? Everything. So you're talking about people who they got into politics, and their political paradigm of thought was formed when President Obama was president. President Obama, to millions and millions and millions of liberals, is like a god to them. And the Clintons are also like, deities. Trump is not a deity or a god to Trump supporters. Trump supporters of all different backgrounds. I used to be the biggest Bernie booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. That's below in the description. Trump supporters come from all backgrounds, all ideologies, because they know he's doing 3 or 4 or 5 really good things that they want, going up against corrupt intelligence officials, taking down a corrupt intelligence apparatus. Sure, there'll still be, bad things that take place, but he is removing the ability of the intelligence agencies to go after an American candidate. So, Anthony, we're concerned about the rule of law. Lousy broke stretching the rules. Exactly, Anthony. President Obama is saying this. You know also that Clinton is getting ready. Anthony, thank you. You know also that Madam Secretary is getting ready when President Obama is... See, Biden, nobody wants to hear from him. Okay, Democrats don't want to hear from him. They just, it's a fair primary. Look, Biden. Come on, how fair could it be? We got this guy who won. That just shows how fair we are. But when President Obama is weighing in, that is the most powerful voice in the Democratic Party. That shows you that they need the most powerful voice. David, thank you. Shavua tov to you. Thank you, David. That shows you that they need a powerful voice now. That shows you they need a powerful voice. RCJ! Brisbane, 26 minutes ago. Defiant anti-lockdown pros. Ignore police. Arrested in mass. Wow. Free Assange, RCJ. Thank you. It is not human nature to, stay in one's basement forever. It's not human nature. If people want to ban alcohol and ban cigarettes, and if government wants to save lives, they need to ban cigarettes and alcohol. Ban fast food. You could go ahead and justify any draconian measures under the guise of protecting lives. The problem is that's not how society functions. You cannot function. You can't have a functioning society. Look at this. Andrew Cuomo, 2 days ago, is on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Did Jimmy Fallon ask him why on March 1st he stated that the risk is low in New York? Why in February Cuomo sued the federal government? Because of travel restrictions, why in his State of the State address in January he made no mention of any of this crisis? It's just not, they get away with everything. There's literally nothing that they can do that would get media to condemn them. It's unbelievable. They're blaming Trump for the failures of governors. RCJ, thank you. They're blaming Trump for the failures of governors. And there's no philosophy, there's no thoughtful discussion anymore. Okay? The groupthink is just unbelievable. Nobody questions anything anymore. It's always, this authority figure says this, and we have Trump here, and we need all these authorities because Trump, he's just so not an expert on anything, and he shouldn't even be president. So we have to get all these experts and authority figures to tell us what's going on. And these projections show that we need to shut down the United States economy. Okay, because the experts, and they're so smart. Oopsie, the projections were wrong, and now we have 30 million unemployed. Oops. Well, you know what? We still had to. You know what I mean? Because. Okay. What about the projections for car accidents, for smoking-related illnesses, for alcohol-related illnesses, cirrhosis, drunk driving? What about how many legal drugs are taken, prescription drug overdoses? Are we going to, why is it that we don't ban these prescription drugs that cause these overdoses? Why don't we ban that? We have to save society. Okay. So we don't do this, do we? More than half of the drug overdoses in the United States where people lose their lives are prescription misuse. Opioids. Why don't you ban opioids? 46,000 overdose in 2018. Almost 70% of all the overdoses. So that's okay. That's okay, but you have to wear a welder's mask. I was in a Los Angeles supermarket, and I saw this lady, and I was wearing my mask, but I started laughing because I saw this lady. I'm telling you, it was like a welder's mask. There was not a microbe. Do you understand that it was going to infiltrate that? Do you understand that was? I looked, I was like, oh my God. Luke St. Martin! Have you heard the phone call that Obama had with former employees? BCB played it earlier and Barry sounded scared. Luke St. Martin, first of all, thank you so very much, and also for being such an amazing, along with Eric H526, such an amazing moderator. I haven't heard the phone call. I have to check it out from Black Conservative Patriots channel. Thank you, Aussie J. You having hair freaks me out. Aussie J, thank you. Luke St. Martin, thank you as always. I have to check that out. And thank you very much for the super chat. I have to check that out. At the end of the day, President Obama's legacy. Well, Hillary Clinton tarnished it, and now it'll be completely erased. I will say this: President Obama being the first, the most beautiful and monumental thing about President Obama's legacy is that he was the first black president. So that is an amazing achievement. That is an amazing accomplishment, and it's something in U.S. history that is one of the most beautiful things in U.S. history. When you look at what he did to Libya, when you look at what he did during Standing Rock, when you look at what he did drinking Flint water, when you look at what he did setting up and framing an incoming candidate, we can look at all that and say, my God. But Luke St. Martin, I got to check that out. Thank you, Luke St. Martin, as always. Florida Man Bear, Florida Man Bear. I won't feel safe till I'm in. I had a friend, good buddy of mine, said something, made a funny joke like, I got dibs on the turnip soup, something like that. Something hilarious. I can't really say exactly what he said, but Florida Man Bear. Oh my God, that's good. Florida Man Bear. Florida Man Bear, thank you. Florida man Barr. Mitchell Smith. Peter and Lisa text state that POTUS wants to know everything. Sydney stated that Peter is a double agent. Wow. President Obama knew everything. Thanks, H.A. Of course he knew everything. All presidents know. All presidents know what's going on. Maybe Ronald Reagan didn't really know about Iran-Contra. Maybe just because he was experiencing serious cognitive issues towards the end of his presidency. Maybe. But he probably knew also. Maybe. And looking at President Obama and Bush, Reagan is like his tenure as president is a much greater success than Bush or President Obama. Look at the military interventions. How President Obama and Bush got us into endless military interventions compared to Reagan. Mitchell Smith, thank you. Wow. Mitchell Smith, of course he knew. Of course he knew. He had to have known. Every president knows the biggest setups or, covert operations that take place during their presidency. Sparky Mitchell, thank you again. Florida man Bear, thank you. Luke St. Martin, thank you. Sparky, Trump should bring HRC justice legally, but he should leave. I'll put the word out. President Obama turned state's evidence on HRC. Yes. Well, I actually think, Sparky, that President Obama will be will take over the Democratic Party once Clinton completely decimates it this election. They ain't going with Biden. I will have made the biggest political call of all time, ladies and gentlemen. I am the only person saying this. And the funny thing is, everything that's taken place has proved exactly my prediction. It's now a prophecy. Clinton is there. She's right about to take it. Take it, Madam Secretary. It's like a fast break where it's like Madam Secretary is Dominique Wilkins and Sean Kemp and just a combination of Dominique Wilkins and Sean Kemp, and it's a fast break, and Madam Secretary is right there. And what do you think? She's going to just lay it up and let Biden, take what's hers? No, she's going to 360, 720. It'll be like one of those video games. Just she's going to dunk, and it's going to be the most amazing, finish of all time in terms of her taking the mantle. If you took, let's say, Vince Carter, Sean Kemp, and Dominique Wilkins, that's what Clinton is right now in the fast break. So are they gonna lay the ball up, or are they gonna dunk the ball? What do you think Clinton's gonna do? She has it right there. You think she's gonna be like, nah, it's such a fair process. Sparky, thank you. Spies like us, thank you. So, it is what it is. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Mitchell, thank you again. It is what it is. You have a situation, people, where it's 4th and goal. It's 4th and goal on the 1. Hey, we're on the 1 yard line, people. We're on the 1 yard. No, they're on the 1 yard line. President Trump technically shouldn't even be president. The media was against him. Hollywood was against him. The intelligence community was against him. You had the most powerful people in the United States of America against him. You have people who are fraud. You have people who who won't talk to their friends. This is for a man who didn't even get us into a large-scale military intervention, like endless quagmire. This is, you see the true colors of people, the true intent, the true blue, like who they are as human beings. Yeah, Sparky, exactly. You see who they are as human beings, how people react to Trump. Do I act towards Clinton the way that people act towards Trump? No. If anything, I'm just, I'm actually very amused getting away with all these crimes, setting up and framing people. My God. That's true. At one point I was. It's true. I was even against Trump at one point, but I was part of a cult and I left. Thank God. Thank God. I knew it too. When you're on the left, when I was on the left, you realize. I know. I saw that story, Will. I saw that story. When you're on the left, you realize, because I remember when I used to be on like a progressive, whatever that means. There's no meaning to that word at all. Hillary Clinton is a progressive. That's what they say. But when I every so often I'd be like, whoa, this is weird. There are people who are seriously like off, completely irrational. And whoa, wait a second. Oh, okay, I know what's going on now. There are people who just get off on judgment and condemnation. They don't care about values because they don't really have any set values. Old school dad man. Will Biden even get to pick a VP before? He could pick Hillary Clinton. He could pick Hillary Clinton's vice president and then pass the baton. There are so many ways. Hillary Clinton is the Usain Bolt of politics. She is light years ahead of everyone. Which reminds me, one of the best Octagon interviews of all time was when Yoel Romero was fighting Israel Adesanya, and he said, he goes, you want to see running? Go watch Usain Bolt. That was one of the best statements of all time. It was a great fight between both of them. Israel Adesanya is the man. He is the man. He's definitely the man. But you can't touch. Madam Secretary is like George St. Pierre and Fedor Emelianenko and he there's nobody who could touch Hillary Clinton in the Democratic octagon. Now Clinton will lose to Trump, but we're talking about Democratic politics. So we're talking about Democratic politics. Old school dad man. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. To my super chat, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Be here, ladies and gentlemen, at 10:30. I will be here 10:30 p.m., people. We'll do another live stream, everyone. 10:30 p.m. These bees art, hello. 10:30 p.m. Be here. Ladies and gentlemen, to my super chat, thank you so much. Share my article, everyone, in the Times of Israel. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee in 2020. Share that on Facebook right now, everyone, please. And on Twitter, and subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. We're over 15,000 subs. Thank you. H.A. Goodman's other channel, over 15,000 subs. And Bizarro World Goodman, I'll have a great segment tomorrow in the day sometime. Thanks, everybody. God bless. I'll see you at 10:30 p.m. Pacific.